Hello, my name's Cassandra.
Hi, I'm David.
Hi, David. What brought you in today?
I don't know, I've just been pretty upset since my parents moved. So it's been pretty rough since they left.
Wait, well, what happened to your parents? Why did they move?
Well, my dad got deported, and so then my mom just decided to pack up and go down to Mexico with him.
Really? I'm sorry to hear that. How did that situation, make you feel?
Well, I mean, it's pretty rough because, I wasn't living with them for the majority of high school. Like, I'm a senior now, and right before my freshman year, I moved in with my aunt and my uncle, and that was pretty nice. And then moved back in with my parents, and then they left, and so it's just kind of like been a back and forth, and it's just kind of seems like they don't really care, and so it's kind of made it pretty difficult.
See, I'm sorry to hear that. How does living with your aunt and uncle make it better than staying with your parents?
Well, I don't know, like I'd get home from school, and they'd always check and see if I had homework. And I mean, at first it was pretty annoying, but I mean, it kind of let me know that they cared, and so they'd always make sure that I did my homework, and I played football and baseball, and they were at almost all of my games. And even though my parents had time, they didn't come to anything. So it was I don't know. I actually felt like I had some support.
When you were growing up, were your parents supportive of what you did?
No, they did a lot of drugs, and they were always drunk. So growing up, I just kind of hung out with my brother. He was a lot older, so when I was really little, so when I was born, he was already 15. And so all through my childhood, I just kind of tagged along with him. But for the most part, he was gone too because he's so much older. And then my parents were always either drunk or whatnot. So I played sports, but couldn't always get to them because my parents couldn't get me there. So I just had friends and teammates would come pick me up, and my parents would just not really be a part of anything.
Okay. Did your aunt and uncle, would you say that they were more of your parental support than your actual parents?
Yeah, I mean, because I first moved in with them because my mom got sick. She was in the hospital, and so it felt like she was in there for a while, and I guess my dad just couldn't handle it, and so my brother was already out of the house, so it just kind of shoved me along, and so I came to them, and they took me in, and they were really supportive and really nice, and they helped me out with whatever I needed, and so it's kind of one of the first times they'd come home and have dinner and things like that, sit down at the table kind of a thing. When I lived with my parents, I'd just get home and I kind of have to dig through the cabinets and try to figure out what I could eat.
See, you kind of had to just scrounge around for what was there.
Yeah.
So when you moved back in with your parents, when your mother got better, how was that for you?
It got a little bit better, because my dad, he started working a lot. He started a business, and so he was gone all the time. And then my mom, she's always, since she was in the hospital, she's, isn't really as active as she used to be. So, they still didn't, come to any games or any events or anything like that. And like I said, my dad's always working. So it was just kind of I didn't really have anybody again.
See, it sounds like you're alone just growing up. It was just you, and that was it.
Yeah, and once I started moving back in with them, they didn't really care. And I got invited to a couple parties, and so I started drinking and pretty much doing drugs whenever they're available, just because it's something to do. And I don't have baseball for another 2 months, so football ended, and I just don't really care right now.
So, speaking of school, how are your grades? And are you fully focused on sports and being active, or how does that look like?
Well, my grades were okay at the beginning of the year, but I moved in with my parents again a few months ago, and I don't know, it's just I don't really have anybody on me to do anything, so I kind of just don't do it. I get home from practice, and I just go drive around with some buddies and go drink, and usually smoke pot.
Yeah. yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but um, who are you staying with now since your parents are both in Mexico right now?
With my older brother, but he's gone all the time, so I pretty much have an apartment to myself. So kind of just throw parties there too.
Okay. Um, so I think that we should like establish, some goals that they're short term and long term for you. Just I feel like you really just need to like talk to someone about like how you're feeling. It seems that you need more a supportive like support system, and you need. It just seems that you were just like abandoned, like just kind of tossed to the side, like you weren't that big of a deal. So, um, I mean, what kind of goals would you like to like set for yourself?
I mean, I don't know, obviously, like I'm here, so like I think maybe like doing some sort of counseling would probably help. Um, and then I don't know if they'd want me, but like it'd be kind of nice to just move back in with my aunt and my uncle because they're pretty supportive. Um, and then I guess I should like probably stop drinking and doing drugs. That probably isn't very helpful.
Right. That would probably yes, I do like that goal. So definitely with your first goal, um, maybe speaking to the school counselors, seeing like setting up a schedule for that, and seeing how that works out for you for like a month or a couple weeks, and see how if it changes your attitude or if it just helps you better, so you can stay away from alcohol and drugs and just kind of get all that stuff off your chest. I think that would be really good for you.
Okay.
Secondly, I do think also it's a really great idea for you to go back living with your aunt and uncle. It seems that they, were pretty strict with you, and I mean, like you said, at first you didn't like it, but I mean, it kept you like there and focused in school, and it seemed like they actually like paid attention and like cared about you. So I think that would be a really good step for you to take as well. Um, and yeah, definitely, again, with the alcohol and drugs, I know that you're predisposed to it. So something that, a lot of people that are predisposed can just lean on. But maybe just like, talking to your aunt and uncle about it or your counselor about drinking and like all its hazards. And, maybe it could just help you also.
Yeah, they didn't really like me. They didn't allow me to do any of that because it's my my dad's sister, and she knew how my dad was, and like kind of they didn't allow it in their house, so I never did it. And I had sports, I never really had to worry about it.
That's good. I definitely with sports. I mean, um, like keeps you usually away from alcohol and drugs because you always want to be in tip-top shape and you always want to stay focused. So I think definitely, like I said, moving in with your aunt and uncle would be the greatest outcome for you. So yeah, how like with your goals set in mind, do you think that those are achievable?
Yeah, and because my biggest thing is like I do want to graduate, so I think like working on those would be pretty good. So that way I can get everything in line, so that I can hopefully be eligible for baseball, and then can actually graduate instead of having to repeat the year. That obviously won't be very beneficial.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Well, you can check back in the next couple weeks, and we'll see how your goals are doing, and we'll take it from there.